Welcome to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Well, we scanned our HHR a little bit earlier, and we had a code P0036. Now, what's a 0036? That's a heater circuit code, and that P means it's a powertrain. The 0 means it's generic, and then that 036 is actually the code. So we're dealing with the heater circuit on it. And how do we know that? Well, we took our Rock Auto scan tool here and we scanned it. We got that. That was the first part of the diagnostics. Now, what do we need to do? Well, we got to go right to the schematic. That's obvious. We have to understand what we're dealing with. And an oxygen sensor really sniffs the oxygen or sniffs the lack of oxygen, but there's also another part to it, and it's right over there. Under here, you can see the actual heater portion of it. Now, the heater portion, that controls the oxygen sensor and gets it up to temperature so it works quickly. We have a problem with that. Now, that's a lot simpler than dealing with the whole oxygen sensor, because you can see 12 volts is coming up and the computer's grounding it. It wants to heat up the oxygen sensor. So the test, well, really simple. Take a look at this. Disconnect the sensor, ignition on, test it at terminal D down there, and we want to see 12 volts down at that sensor. If we see 12 volts down at the sensor, man, dead to rights, we got a bad oxygen sensor heater circuit. Now, we also had a couple other problems with the car. It was running rough, it was hesitating, lack of power, and even hissing. It just seems like it just won't go, no power at all. So we need to check out all those diagnostic codes, and we'll do that. Brian's getting underway. Let's check in with him.
Well, John gave us some very, there we go, significant information there. So we talked about an O2 sensor code. That's what he scanned. But not just a general O2 sensor code, a heater circuit specific code. That means a lot, because now you don't have to do as much exploratory surgery. We all know there's multiple things that can throw an O2 sensor code. Heater circuit's big, because what I've done here, we need to validate the test, as he mentioned, at 12 volts, the key's on in accessory mode. We should have 12 volts coming down to this O2 sensor. I've intercepted the connector here. I'm going to get a test. Hey, John, if you give me a hand here. Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to test this and make sure we've got 12 volts coming down.
All right, well, I'll take the ground right here.
Go volts there for us.
I think I got a good ground for you.
Okay, I flipped out the volts. We ought to see, 11.3, 11.4, 11.6, something like that. What do you got?
All right, yeah, we're about 9 volts. We're dropping. The key's been on for about an hour or so, but we're dropping. But that's voltage. That's what we want to see there.
Voltage coming down there. So clearly, the O2 sensor is bad. Now, one more tip. Make sure you're using the right wrench to get these out. This is one of those rare ones. You probably could use an open-end wrench, but don't. You don't want to mess up the wiring harness, and actually ones that are hard to get to are great with this 90 that we got from Rock Auto. So I'm going to get this guy out. But you had other symptoms you were talking about too.
Absolutely. We had that lack of power, we're giving it gas, and we got this hissing sound. I mean, it's a classic symptom of a clogged catalytic converter, and that kind of explains also maybe why that heater circuit's getting burnt up. Now, we can run a couple of tests. We'll look inside a cat in a minute, but we can run a couple of tests, one of them being a vacuum test. You can go up under the hood with a vacuum gauge, hook up a vacuum gauge, run it to 2,500 RPM, and see if the vacuum gauge starts dropping, because what's happening, if I can't get the exhaust out, I can't create vacuum in the cylinders. But since we're taking the oxygen sensor out down here, we're just going to run a back pressure test, and that's pretty cool. We actually have a back pressure gauge we're going to hook up, and you'll see it in a minute. But we need about 1.5 pounds of pressure on the idle, and then 3 if we're up about 2,500 RPM. I'm suspecting the way this thing's hissing, we're going to have some back pressure issues here.
Yeah, and that's common. It's high miles and it's old, right?
Yep, it's got 75,000 miles. Doesn't seem like too high miles, but you got the ethanol and the fuels and all kinds of things going on with the catalytic converters today. I'll take a look inside in a minute. That's actually going to start to deteriorate them a lot quicker. So,
okay, John, we're in.
All right, now we have an assistant up in the car. Go ahead and crank it up. Oh, this is perfect. So what we're actually looking at here is it's actually starting to go. You can hear the back pressure. Holy mackerel, it's coming out the thing. Yeah. You can see it's starting to build back pressure, and that's exactly what I'm feeling when I'm driving. We're way up there in the idle. You can shut it off.
So it looks like I'm replacing not just the O2 sensor, but this whole guy right here.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and take this. I got a cool demo to set up that actually shows you how these work. Yeah. I'll get that set up in the catalytic converter as well. You get that off while I do that.
Perfect. Sounds good. So this isn't too bad. There's just going to be 4 bolts for this system. Get this off. And you got to be careful down here. Now it's warm, but it's not terribly hot yet. You get these 2 bolts out and get us going. And we'll replace this whole downpipe. The Rock Auto stockroom has what we need back there, and it comes as one piece. Again, these catalytic converters, they can break down and clog up and create all kinds of issues. So the hissing was a real big symptom, and kind of the rough idle that he was experiencing. Those are all telltale symptoms that you've got something going on inside the cat. They are designed to wear out, so it's common. And if you've had it happen, you know it can be sometimes no fun and a little bit expensive. All right, I'm gonna leave one nut on here so we don't drag that tail down. Get a big extension to go all the way up in here to the back of the block access. I want to get these two started and get this whole system coming down. Hey John, show us what it looks like inside a cat.
Well, our back pressure test revealed that we had a clogged catalytic converter. In true Tech Garage fashion, we cut a couple open so we can understand what they do and how they work. But first of all, what do they do? Well, they take in the gases that the car burns, all the emissions. That's what a cat's all about. You can look at it right here on this animation. First thing we're going to take in is CO. That's carbon monoxide, and it changes that to carbon dioxide through a chemical reaction. Then there's HCs, which is hydrocarbons. That's raw gasoline. Takes it into the cat on this side, out comes H2O, which is water. And then there's the oxides and nitrogen, the NOx. Now it takes that into the catalytic converter, and it comes out as oxygen and nitrogen. Kind of separates it. Well, how does it work? Well, the front of the cat's broken down into palladium and platinum. That takes care of the COs, and it also takes care of the HCs. And the back of the cat, that's usually the rhodium, and that takes care of the NOx. And you can see one right here, and the failure that's going on with our cat. This is a good illustration. Right here, you can see the front chamber. This is a honeycomb. It's not too bad, but as we start cut through these layers, you can see what's called thermal meltdown of a catalytic converter. Either gases are getting in here, something's going on that we talked about. You can see it's almost all clogged up right here, and it's shot. It starts to wear out. Well, what's a good cat supposed to look like? Well, check this one out right here. Here's a good honeycomb. I can pop that out. This is a brand new illustration. Now you'll notice there's two oxygen sensors on the cat, a front and a rear. That's important. All right, my front one is a pre-cat. The one past it is a post-cat. Well, what's that all about? Well, they're looking at it. We're going to talk about oxygen sensors a little bit later. But what they do is they make a signal. And when they make a signal, it's rich, lean, rich, lean. That's how an oxygen sensor works. And if you look at this illustration right here, we're looking at the pre-cat. It's going rich, lean, rich, lean, rich, lean on the top. And the back, the post-cat's nice and smooth. It kind of took care of all those gases. So the oxygen sensor is saying, hey, I'm good to go back here. It's diagnosing the catalytic converter. Now, on the other hand, that's a bad catalytic converter. You see what's going in? Rich, lean, rich, lean, rich, lean. And that second oxygen sensor, he's going rich, lean, rich, lean, rich, lean as well. That's not a good thing. That means the gases are passing right through it. He's reading them just as much as they're coming in as they're going out. That means that your catalytic converter is bad. And that's how the car actually monitors the catalytic converter. Now ours is clogged. It's time to replace it. Brian's tackling taking out the whole catalytic converter and downpipe. Let's see how he's coming along.
Okay, got it loose. Let's back this guy down out. It's warm, not terribly hot. Make sure you take care of this O2 sensor harness right here. Get it out. That's the good one. There's the old one. There's the clogged cat. There's the mess. New one's going in just a minute. Stay with us on Tech Garage, brought to you by rockauto.com.